Hey, Weird Weirdos. It's Brian again. And this is Weird World War II. World War Deuce. Alright, guys. So, doing some hobbying, trying to find something interesting to watch on YouTube, and it's all shit. All of it. It's all the same shit, talking about the same bullshit in the same way, with the same amazing graphics and amazing paint jobs and amazingly fucking bland, boring ass fucking games. Oh my god. How can you guys handle tournament play? Every fucking game you play. Every fucking army game you play. Tournament style. Army lists. Point values. Stupid ass fucking special rules. Just God almighty. It's just madness. Anywho's. So sitting here, I'm like, I'm bored. So I'm gonna just do a fucking live chat. Okay. Totally spur of the moment. If anybody's on board, say hi. I'd love to hear from you. Make sure that I can hear, or at least you guys can hear me speaking. So we're going to talk about. I'm in cahoots with a fellow excellent fucking epic wargamer who makes excellent epic fucking battle reports. So I won't tell you who in case it falls through. I won't look a total dumb fuck. But anyway, so I'm printing up some cool North African armor cars. There's the 263 or the 262, whatever. It's basically the 231, the built up chassis. It's kind of it's like the radio car that became the full-fledged radio car instead of just like one of the 231s with the wire antenna. Gave him more room. I think it gave him more room for extra, a couple extra sets of radios, and they may even be able to stand in this thing for like a map board or some shit. But anyway, sweet ass vehicle. Printed that up. It's still kind of wet. So I'm doing that. Printed up a couple 231s right here. These were originally 172s, but see? So all you guys, wargamers, you don't have a fucking printer yet. These were originally this was originally like a 172, and I just upscaled it to 148. Look at that beauty. She's a beauty. Look at that beauty. Yeah, put a big hole in it so it can drain. See? I learned from my mistakes. So, got some DAC guys, some DAC infantry painting up. I got some, started working on some 222s armor cars. Here's the turrets. This is from our girl, a nerd. Give us up some free shit. There's some turrets to it. So, that's what I've been doing. Still working on these damn Indo-Chinese. Or Vietnamese, I should say. Got some cool monsters for this battle. This is going to be set in North Africa. So we're doing, Sabek? Or Sabek, whatever you want to call it. He's like it's like the crocodile god, the crocodile Egyptian god, right? And he was like, I believe he was the protector of the Egyptians, like the race and the peoples and shit, right? He could be really violent. He'd be real martial, right? But he could be really caring and protective of the people. So he had I think he was a cross of a crocodile, and I think it was a crocodile, just a giant crocodile humanoid. So I got one of them. I haven't printed this out, but then there's these weird. I think they're called Anits or Ankik or some shit like that. But it's it's one of his lesser buddies, I guess. But it's like a predator. So it's you gotta think the Egyptians were they living in the fucking desert and the Nile, right? The Nile Delta. So it's pretty. I mean, they got their own fucking ecosystem right there. So the biggest predators on the block are the fucking crocodiles. This thing's a crocodile, hippo, and fucking tiger. So there you go. You got all the fucking critters, all the man-eaters, kick the shit out of you in nature, right there in one critter. Boom! So we use this as some monsters. So look at that. the various armies will be battling. So that's pretty cool. All right, guys. So tonight I wanted to jump into finished 1930. We did 1930, right? We did all the weird warring 1930, right? Now we're going to jump in and do weird warring 1931. So you guessed it. You can follow along. You guys are smart. It's like 1930. We did 1931, and then we'll go to. That's right. 1932. Man, you guys are smart. All right, chuckleheads, weirdos. Okay, so again, I'm going to put a link to the general framework that I use to kind of go by. It's on. It's just the Wikipedia page of 1931, the events section. But put it in the comments. Okay, so you guys can check it out. Nerd, what's up, girl? I was just talking about you. I printed up some of your 222 turrets. Oh, well, you know who that is. Who's that, Thompson? Damn it. Me and Adam were supposed to chill out, but he never called me, and now he's calling. Dude. Hold on one second, guys. You guys will see this live. Let me answer this real quick. This is a first. During a Facebook message on a live feed. There you go. See, this thing fucking works. Oh, now it's got my. Let's see what we got here. Give me a second, guys. Adam? Oh, look at that. What's up, dude? So check this out. I'm actually live on my YouTube channel because I wasn't sure we were going to connect. You can just talk if you want. I think they can hear your voice. Whoever's watching. I don't think they can see you.
I'm going.
You sure? Yeah. You're live. We're talking. It's like the world is seeing me or listening to me and you. We'll swing over to YouTube. We're going to go through 1931. There you go. Okay. So everybody, if you guys can hear him, let me know if you guys can hear Adam. Okay. If you can, shoot me a message in the text saying that you can. So what we're doing, I tell you, brother, I was perusing through YouTube and I couldn't find one goddamn thing worthy to watch. Like in gaming in the hobby. It was the same shit. Done the same subjects, done by the same, great quality, great paint jobs, and boring ass games. It's just like watching one channel is just like watching the other. All the same, it seems. But unlike Adam's, his is freaking epic. Wargaming China. You want to do a little plug, brother?
Thanks, man. I do try.
You don't try, you do. This is the man that knows everything about the war between China and Japan from 1931 to 1945. Give me the spiel. Give me the spiel. I messed it up.
I don't know everything. I'm just a keen historian and a keen reader of the war of resistance between against Japanese aggression in China from 1931 to 1945.
That's it. That's it. Shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not. I believe me.
Oh shit, dude. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, this man knows the rivet counts of the fucking Bofors 75 millimeter on the skis with the bunny ears. He knows it. He knows the thickness of the armor and what steel they used. This is the guy right there. Well, I tell you, man, what we were gonna do is we were just gonna. I didn't know when you were gonna come on, so I started a live feed. So we were gonna go through my weird. So I don't know if you catch my 1930. Did you get a chance to check those out? Those videos? No. So what I'm doing, man, is I'm making a timeline of my weird World War II campaign starting in 1930. And I used the Wikipedia entry for that year, the events, as just kind of like a starting point.
Yeah, you tell me about it.
Yeah. So we were going to jump into the 1932. If you guys want to, I put a link. It should be on. Oh yeah, Facebook kicked me off the live feed from you for some reason.
Look, man. There's so many tosses now on social media. I mean, everyone likes it. Random tosses. But I'll be honest, like, it's just every time you're on, you get a YouTube make money, and you just get a shitty taste in your mouth.
Yeah, it is true. It is true, man. It's like, you know, I don't know if you saw that video I had. I got a like hate speech strike or whatever it was. And they were saying,
I've had one of them.
yeah, and you know what it was for, dude? I uploaded the opening credits to Dad's Army.
Yeah, I remember.
It's just like,
yeah, look, I've had one video done for copyright.
the copyright. Yeah.
But I've had 2 warnings and comments.
Really?
Yeah. But the thing is, they've never threatened to take my channel away. It's a free channel. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's so funny. It's like they're gonna dangle that threat in front of me. Like, okay, I'll just go to, you know, wherever else and put my shit up. And people who want to see it will see it, and those who don't want to won't. So
yeah, that's right.
I don't know. But we got let's see. Hey nerd, if you're still on, can you hear? Hey Ashley, what's up? Can you guys hear Adam when he's talking? I kind of tilted my I can turn that up. Let me turn up that. If you guys can hear Adam speaking, let me know. Because I've tilted the computer to the camera where my microphone's at. You should be able to. I hope so. But yeah. So what we're gonna do, and you know, and look, this is a guy who is familiar with 1931, especially in Asia, in China, and I am actually right now. I don't know if I told you I'm working on. Did you see all my French Indochina Chinese troops?
Sorry, mate.
Have you seen those resin casts I made of the French Indo-Chinese troops? The Vietnamese?
I like
yeah, they're nice.
Yeah, I like them. Tonkinese, yeah, I like them.
Yep. And you know, it's funny. Just yesterday I was reading about you know, when the French capitulated in World War II, there was the 5th French Foreign Legion was in Tonkin. And I think there was 4 regiments or 5, were they battalions or I can't remember what they were.
They're always regiments.
Regiments. There was, I think there were 4 or 5 regiments in Tonkin, and their duties were to secure the Indochina border with China, secure that border, and then to do like engineering works, building roads, and then they would do patrols and keeping everything everything cool. Well, I read that when the Japanese came into Indochina, there was some fighting between the Japanese and the French Foreign Legion, and then the politicians got involved and said, hey, let's not do this, but Japan, we'll just let you bring in 100,000, 200,000 troops through Indochina.
Still talking 1941.
Yep. So they made that. They made that.
The French have already lost the territory to the Thais.
Yep.
By in 1940, they lost a shitload of Vietnam to Thailand.
Yep.
And Thailand invaded.
It's very interesting, guys. I mean, I know
Thailand
that
invaded French Indochina. But for a few provinces that they wanted, they successfully. But they were always China. I mean, Thailand was Japan's ally.
Yep. And it was there were also underground movements there was a big underground movement of the Koreans. The Koreans were trying to fight off the French yoke, and then the Japanese.
Now, well, the Koreans were under Japanese occupation.
Yep. And then there was a big Vietnamese northern Vietnam seemed to be more wanting freedom from the French than the other parts of the Vietnam. So there were always those groups that were trying to fight for freedom for those nations. You get away from the French, and then the Japanese, and then the French again. So,
America had them in the palm of their hands in 1945. Ho Chi Minh was their best buddy.
That's right. Didn't he go? If I remember correctly, he went to the States and he asked Truman to say, "Hey, help us out. Help us get our independence," right? And Truman.
No, I don't know. I don't know if he actually got to America. I don't know about that.
I thought I read somewhere where Ho Chi Minh actually goes to the States to get an audience with Truman, to try to get Truman to like back his stake in making Vietnam free from the French. And then Truman just didn't give a shit. And then Ho Chi Minh, well, screw it, I'll just go to Stalin instead. I'll go to Stalin.
Well,
or Mao or whatever the hell it was.
You got to understand also that Ho Chi Minh actually thought America was a divided country.
That's true.
That's militarily. Because he'd had dealings with Miles. Then there was a naval operation in China, and then the OSS also wanted to be in there. And there was such little cooperation with the naval forces under Miles and the OSS. That the OSS basically just went into Vietnam and said, "Look, we'll try our best here."
Right on. I mean, it's interesting because there's so much happening.
I very well have thought that the Americans are divided.
Well, you got to think where he's coming from. He's coming from like the whole region are like divided. We were talking about what is the. So I've also been researching 1932. That's when you have. Hold on a second. Let me find their names again.
Shanghai,
Han and Li.
Well,
yeah, you got Han and Liv War or Lu War. They're two Chinese quote unquote warlords / KMT generals, right? They're under the KMT supposedly, but they start fighting each other. So you got you got to think it's like Ho Chi Minh's coming from a region where although you have these countries. They're all fighting each other. They're all fighting for, and then there's a occupying country, just a fucking mess. Well, China. China's a goddamn mess. It was occupied by foreigners all over the place.
And as I said, getting back to Hodo, it wasn't just Miles of the Navy and Donovan of the OSS. Remember, Chanot and Stilwell were each other's throats too.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
I probably Ho Chi Minh liked America and probably thought you could help him. When it looked at how fractured that command system was, he was thinking, I don't need that. I need a unified one.
Yeah. I think
the Americans didn't really do anything in China.
No, they didn't. I mean, I think after World War II, they didn't support. They left, and then the Chinese.
Well, as I said, anyway, getting back to 1932. So are we just sticking in China?
Oh no! Well, we're doing 1931 actually. No, we're doing the whole world. So if you wanna stay on, you can, or you can get off.
Yeah, I will.
You stay on. Okay. So if you wanna, we'll go to the framework. Like I said, we'll go to the Wikipedia page. It's on the link. If you go to YouTube, dude, there'll be like a link there. But anyway, so what we got here. So again, I'm not using all of these milestones to manipulate and turn into some weird war event. But what I've written down here. So on February 21st, the Peruvian revolutionaries start to get more bold, and they do the first aerial hijacking. They hijack a tri-motor Peruvian plane, and they hijack this plane and they drop leaflets all over the country, try to go for their cause. It's funny. It's one thing. It's like after reading a lot of these movements that they want the peasant class or the common folk, right? They want them to join, but they're throwing them pamphlets. And a lot of these cultures, they can't fucking read. So it's like I mean I get it, but it's like a better way to get get to the folks than throwing pamphlets down. But I thought that would be kind of a cool, maybe like I don't know, maybe like a hostage, like a rescue mission, like a little commando or like a elite group of soldiers trying to retake the plane when it lands or something like that. What we're doing here is we're trying to come up with instances in history to like modify into a weird World War II stance, or to just have a cool game, like a one-off game that is part of something that was actually happening in history. So that's what that one was. And then so then the second one we've got in February 31st. Okay, there's an earthquake in Managua, Nicaragua. Okay, and it kills like 2,000 people. I mean, that's a and it's weird. So there's a common thing going on in 31. There's a lot of natural disasters happening in 31. I've noticed. I mean, there's a lot. There's the hurricanes, and there's tornadoes, and there's tons of earthquakes. There's fucking islands appearing out of the Indian Ocean. All sorts of crazy shit. But so I wrote on here, an earthquake you can manipulate into some sort of like weird World War II event, like cultists, mythos type of shit, monsters, whatever. So okay, so then we got this is up your alley in when is this? This is April 1st, 31. You got the second Encirclement campaign up in China, where the KMT they try to go and wipe out the rest of the communist Chinese.
Oh, that's 31 Encirclement campaign, yeah.
Yep. And it turns to shit. The KMT get their ass kicked pretty hard.
Yeah.
I guess in about a month, at least in the reading that I've said, in about a month, it's pretty much decided that the KMT have lost. It's the campaign.
Oh yeah.
It's
the first. I think it's the second Encirclement campaign. Yeah.
The second Encirclement campaign.
Yeah. So as I said, they'll start to change it. But there's lots of scenarios for that.
Yeah, I've got I plan on me having like some Chinese troops. Now I can make them red Chinese and can use the KMT. So what kind of scenario we'll have to? So this is one of the reasons why I want to talk to you in private. Was like, we should. I'd like to figure out maybe at least a half a dozen like different engagements that could be used in like an ongoing campaign. And what I want to do is like I actually want to play it out. So if the campaign is successful for the KMT, then history changes, and that's where the weird World War II happens.
Yeah.
So if they do fail, then it goes continues on like normal history. But if
you've got fictional. Look, I did the first campaign, Shanghai, 1928, 28th, and I'll tell you what, I had everything. I had troop losses, ammunition timetables, the lot. I kept track of everything, so that every force that did moved on the next story. By halfway, I realized because of the dice, all the dice, things change. But I was just too strong in Chinese. The Chinese were too strong. So by one of the games, actually, I had to just go back to. I realized then campaigns. Just for me now, campaigns are just doing the battles in order. I'm not trying to do the casualties anymore. It's difficult, mate. It doesn't go the way you want it.
Yeah, you try to mimic history, and you're like, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Yeah,
they should have won.
Like, say, 5,000 Chinese personnel. My husband did my forces so much, I've got 15,000.
And you're like, what happened?
Yeah. So, campaigns are difficult, man. I would just do the events and not try to think about. But at the end battle, it's difficult.
Yeah.
They're very complex ones. So you start recording how many casualties you had, how much ammunition you had, what guns you've been destroyed, or what guns it gets awkward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like doing, is because this is a weird World War II situation, is that we could diverge from history. So I'm not worried about like if I'm not worried about it, because what happens on the table is I'm going to take as a reflection of what's happening on the main front and what's happening. What I really wanted to talk to you about. So, what are the things I want to do? So, what I want to do in my Weird World War II campaign is I want to try to get China. I want there to be an arm industry of Western company coming into China and supporting an actual robust armed industry in China. Because what I want to do is I want them to have the weapons and even tanks and the vehicles to actually do a campaign against the Soviets, okay, and against the Japanese. So what I want to do is it's going to be wild, because I'm trying to
because you're saying about fictional, but I can tell you
fictional.
I can give you a few examples of the Chinese and the Russians at each other's throat in 37 and 34. They're not fictional.
Okay.
They may as well be, because they're unheard of.
Yeah, and
the Chinese the Russians can't be defeated. The Chinese did it. The Ma did it once.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like what I was thinking. So in my brain, I was thinking that the Germany's still rising. It's not quite where it is to be when it starts to expand. So I'm thinking like the Czechs. I'm thinking like Krupp or Skoda. I'm thinking maybe Skoda. Good.
Then why not start your timeline at 1929, right?
Well, I started at 1930.
The War of the Northern Plains is over. The Chang's lost. Then you could have all the northwest and northeastern armies, and there you do have industry. There you do have history of making tanks.
Yeah.
Because actually China did make its own one tank of its own. And yeah, so if you did that, just say your scenario starts, the Northern Expedition has been defeated. China is now the territory of, Chang to the west, and the young Marshal to the north. And then your scenario can go from there, because if you included like places like Jinan, Xinjiang, those provinces, well, in Jinan they were making armored trains, and they did make one tank. And they did, and if you look at Inner Mongolia, the old Marshal was actually trying to get an automatic rifle produced by the Austrians.
Really?
Yeah. So I'd start in 1929 and say China's split into the Northern Expedition failed, and the powers of the Northeast and Northwest alike, the Northeast and Northwest, are still united.
You see, so ultimately what I wanted to do is I want the Soviets to start backing the communist Chinese, right, in a more militaristic way. And then Japan is obviously trying to do its encroachments into China. So China's going to be against like two different enemies. It's going to have.
You got to remember, right, that in 1933, I think it's 33 or 34, Mao split with the Communist Party. He split with the Soviets. Didn't take any more Soviet advice. He wasn't getting much from them anyway.
No, he wasn't.
He was
more Marxist than the Soviet Union, government kind of shit.
No. There was a. You see, he wasn't leader of the Communist Party until 30. I think it's 36.
Was it 36? No, I thought it was 32.
So there was another one before, and he had tried to actually link up with the Soviets in Xinjiang, because there's a corridor, as I said before, in 1934, the communists established a military corridor, so that their man in Xinjiang could be propped up by them. And as part of that, the communists, I can't remember his leader, but they sent 30,000 men towards Xinjiang to be able to carve out an enclave next to one of these corridors. But they ran into the Ma, and none survived.
None, really? Got them all? See,
that is when Mao rises. That's when he rises now because his faction is the strongest now.
Yeah.
He says, "I'll take over the PLA." One of the first things to turn his back on the Soviets.
Yeah. So, what I'm trying to do is in the Chinese campaign is to have the Soviets and the Japanese. Okay. The Commonwealth has been dissolved, and I can't tell you how. I think I may have told you.
I know. Don't worry. Okay, the Commonwealth's dissolved.
But you know, I got to neutralize the Commonwealth to give the fascists room to breathe, and I found a way to do it in a mythical, weird World War II way. So that's so the British, the Commonwealth have been neutralized in effective in the force that it could muster. Okay, so you've got them kind of out of the equation. So, but what I want to do is, you know, so like after World War I, a lot of the Pacific area colonies of the Germans, okay, so the Germans were colonizing power as well. A lot of that went to the Japanese, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm sitting here in my brain, in my weird war brain, I'm saying here, okay, so instead of, so China isn't in such a bad position as it was in reality, okay? And there's some German influence in China already. Why don't the Nazis hook up with the Chinese instead of the Japanese? And another reason why is that the Americans, Roosevelt was assassinated because I think it was right before he came to office. There was an assassination attempt on Roosevelt, but it was like a motorcade, and some other political, like the mayor of Chicago was killed instead of Roosevelt. And the guy who did it, you know, some crazy communist guy. So, and that's another thing. I'm trying to infuse all this communist, like, insurrections across the world to build that up so the world is fighting against the Soviets. So, but anyway, I forgot where I was talking. Oh, so what I want to the Chinese, but what I want to do before, you know, Hitler comes to power, I want there to be some sort of a Western European presence there. And I was thinking like getting Skoda to get there, have a big factory, making artillery guns, making their, you know, 35Ts, and giving that to the Chinese to have an actual like armored, mechanized kind of westernized army to fight against these two.
It's not a problem.
Not a problem?
No, it's not a problem. But as I said, just have the northwest and northeast as an alliance, China divided, and then all that would probably happen anyway.
Okay, yeah, because I was also thinking of some sort of weird war, like benefactor for the KMT, like what is it, like a Fu Manchu kind of a mastermind kind of guy that was advice, like he has some sort of prescience about events, or he's got access to wealth that the KMT don't have, that are enticing like Skoda to come into the country. Or
you say all these things to me, and it's you see, China is so fucking out there, man. As soon as you say things to me, I'm like, oh, but that really happened. You could use him or that, but you want to stay in a fiction. So you know, there was you know, we talk about the intelligence gathering of World War II.
Yep.
And you know, we all know the Russians were fucking brilliant. You know, British intelligence was brilliant, you know, except they were all betrayed to the Russians. But the Chinese were very good at spying. And their spy master, Dai Le, he was very capable of doing all of that.
Well, I also read that the French had a very robust security services in that area too.
Yeah, but you know what, mate? You go and read a book about French intelligence. It's fucking crazy. The Foreign Office has got an intelligence service. The State Department has an intelligence service. The Police Department has an intelligence service. So does their Navy, Air Force, and Army. Then they have their own bureaus of government. Yeah. So there's about 8 or 9 of them. They all don't talk to each other.
Well, you know, when I'm doing that, was it the My Being Uprising? Was it the Yin Bai Mutiny? Well, shit. So like the group that's doing this, they're like basically their Secretary of Defense is a fucking French spy. So it'd be like your Minister of Defense was a fucking spy, and he like gave him up and stuff. It's just like, dang. I mean, it was like
bad in life, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
It's
like
bad.
yeah, it was like
bad.
what? It's like how has that even happened? But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. And you know, another thing I've discovered doing a bunch of research in that part of the world is all the secret societies the Asian cultures have. And it's not like the Western secret society. Those are more like intellectual and shit. In the Asian area, it's more like call to arms and like, you know, revolution and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I know this. If you look at Cambodia, there's no democracy in Cambodia, really. I mean, there are elections, but they're all divided between three parties. The former Khmer Rouge, the Royalists, and the Royalists, and there's one more faction, like the democracy people. And they just deal with each other. It's like every government department is split in. Like I said, there's 12 government ministries. They each get 4. And that's how they run. That's probably how China would have ended up.
Yeah, you think? Just like
United, but very divided on the inside. With
kind of like India.
Families of running through every department. You know, running from the top to the bottom.
Isn't modern day India kind of like the president, like the prime minister or whatever, is pretty weak? It's just these regional, like, governments are pretty.
How many viewers you got watching? Because I will say something, but I don't want to get sued.
Oh shit! I don't know if you get sued.
All right. Then.
Hold on a second.
If you look at criminal organizations in China, right?
Uh-huh.
Now
the Tong.
First off,
is that what they're called?
Hang on. Yeah, but it doesn't. Let me finish.
Okay.
Right, the main one, still today. Sun Yat-sen was married to, I think it was Lei Song, right? Who was the sister of TV Song, whose nephew, Mei Ling Song, married Chan, right?
Oh, we all know her.
Now the whole family is head of the Green Gang.
Really?
Yeah, they are the heads of the Green Gang. So it could be legitimately said, and I mean, I don't want to be sued, but it could be put forward in a case of law that Chang's government Chang was just another gangster.
Well, I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, he'd have to be, and just the environment that he's dealing with. He's enticing warlords.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And if you're not born into one of those families, they'll all be against you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
you can make alliances within the families, and I've heard of cases where people say to each other in China, "Well, my great granddad helped your great granddad. You got to help me," and they do.
And they fight it out.
The things that look like us, we wouldn't have known what favors our great grandfather did or called it, but the Chinese know.
They keep that. They keep that record.
These things are recorded. It's family memory, and it's when you say about a gang, it was already happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, shit, isn't all government
a gang?
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so
I don't know, but I think I'd like to think American democracy is not a gang.
Shit, it's like man, it's like yeah, dude. You see all these ex-presidents, they'll have some event. You'll have like Bush, and you'll have Clinton, and you'll have Obama, all sitting there drinking beers together, laughing.
That's democracy.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's just democracy.
Yes, democracy is ruled by consent. And what democracy that means is that I vote, we'll vote, even if I get something I detest. I don't fight against or try to destroy it because my chance will come again in 4 years' time.
It's true.
It's called rule by consent.
That's true. It's true.
We don't have that. We don't have democracy. I know there are some people now that think if you vote the wrong way, you should fucking die, but and then call you a fascist. That ain't right,
Yeah.
It's government by dissent. by consent.
Yep. And there's more than two parties, and there's more than one issue, and there's more. People need to get out there and vote. Anywho's, let's see.
Voting's compulsory here.
Is it really?
Yeah.
In Australia, voting is compulsory. How does that work? How does that work? Like
if you don't vote and vote, you get a fine.
You get a fine? No shit.
You got to fill out the electoral roll. That's by law. You got to do that, and then if you filled that out and you didn't vote, they'll send you a fine. If you did it a lot, they'd probably take you to court. You can go to jail.
You are fucking shitting me. I never knew that.
I like it.
Is that an Australian thing, or is that like kind of like a Commonwealth thing?
Australia.
It's an Australian thing?
Yeah, it's Australia. I like it. I think everyone should, because all these people bitch, but then you find out they didn't go and vote. Go and vote and then have a legitimate bitch.
I have never fucking heard that, ever. Interesting.
No, I think in Japan you have to vote too. There are a few countries that you have to get your ass there or you're breaking the law. I think it's great. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with you. But, I mean, what is that Rush song, Freedom, or no, Devo sings a song, Freedom of Choice, and one of it's not to choose.
Well, you can just go there and put big X with the vote paper, man. Just deface the whole thing. But you got to go there.
You got to do it. That's funny.
You got to go there, man. You got to deface the whole thing if you want to. Deface it. If not, you don't.
That's wild. I've never heard that. So everybody, if you guys didn't hear, in Australia, you have to vote by law. If you don't, you can get it fined. And if you're a serial non-voter, you can get booted into the big house. That's amazing. I've never fucking heard it. Man, shit. We should do that here in the States. You got all these people bitching, like you said, there are all these people bitching and moaning, and if you find out they didn't even fucking vote, or they forgot, or it's like,
I hate that.
It's like, what the fuck? What are you bitching for, then? All right,
most countries, I think most Commonwealth countries, you don't have to vote. You don't have to vote in England or South Africa, or I don't think you have to vote in Canada.
Yeah.
Australia's the only one.
That's wild. And you said maybe Japan?
You're forced to compete. It's like when your dad said to you, get on the rugby team. I'm worried you're a girl. So just go and participate. You've got to go and do it. Doesn't
go
matter
do
if you don't
something.
Want to, you don't like it. Get out there. Play. Get on the field and play.
Go find yourself.
Yeah. Go on the field and play.
That's funny. Well, I don't have a problem with that, honestly. That's interesting. I've never fucking even heard of that, like being mandatory to vote.
Yeah, so as I said, every time you come up with something for China, this is why I love the war in China and wargaming and the games, because there's always so much more than the actual battle. It's the betrayal going on.
It's all the skullduggery behind the scenes.
Yeah, all the dirty business behind it.
Okay, so
and you think, right, we got him here.
Real quick, Adam, Landsneck 1525 has a question for you. So he says, you can't abstain from voting in Australia, ? It says non-sequitur isn't an option. Can you just vote for yourself, or does it have to be somebody on the actual ticket?
No, you have to register to vote. You have to get your ass to the polling booth.
Okay, so you have to register and then vote.
You just want to deface it all.
Okay.
You can do that.
So you can do whatever you want. You can vote for whoever you want, or make up, I'm gonna vote for Godzilla or whatever the fuck. But you just gotta go.
They just call it a non-vote.
So you can just non-vote. Okay.
Yeah, illegible vote or something like that. Okay. Yeah, you have to go by law. Cass didn't go vote, and this is not just federal elections. It's state elections too. You have to vote.
It's all elections. Okay. Huh. That's interesting. So there you go, folks. I have never fucking heard that. I think that's actually a great idea, to be honest with you. I think, one day of the year you have to just make your voice known, or whatever. You
can do a postal vote. You just go to the post office and you get in register for that, and they send you the form, and you do a postal vote.
There you go. You mail in vote, so you don't actually have to go. And then they make the argument, well, I don't have a car, or I'm disenfranchised because I don't like going outside. You can just put it in the fucking mail.
Everybody gets involved. It doesn't matter how far away you live. There'll be a service provider for you to vote. Doesn't
That's
matter.
cool.
And in Australia, that's saying something. No matter where you live.
I dig that. Hey, shit. And then it'll be on the government to get their shit together to make sure that the people have the means to vote. That's pretty cool.
Well, I'll be honest. I hate all politicians. They're all bastards.
Yeah, they are.
I hate all the political parties. So I don't care. But I just mourn the lack of statesmen in any countries anymore. Where happened to statesmen?
It's definitely different. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, our politicians aren't the politicians from like the 20s or the 1800s and shit. No, not at all.
Well, they're not even. Well, Reagan was a bit of a statesman, he was the last one you met.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Australia hasn't had one.
I couldn't even tell you who the fucking president of Australia is, to be honest with you.
No, who cares?
It was a girl. It was a girl, wasn't it? And then she just recently got replaced, didn't she? Or maybe I'm thinking of New Zealand or something.
New Zealand, yeah.
New Zealand, maybe, yeah. Your neighbors.
Anyway, so carry on with you. I'm listening.
Okay. So we were talking about the what are we talking about? The second encirclement campaign, and the KMT got their asses kicked. The communist Chinese kind of were able to stay in place, and they didn't get crushed. So you still had that threat. Chiang still had the threat from not quite Mao, but like Mao and his buddies up there, and so there's still that issue. It's not just the foreign powers coming in fucking with them. You got commies now fucking with them, so it's making things more difficult. All right, then off camera, we'll come up with some cool like missions and stuff, and you guys will see it because we're gonna me and Mel and whoever. Shit, Adam, fly to the States, man. We'll play out the second encirclement. I'll buy you beer and a barbecue the whole time you're here.
Mate, I'll be honest with you. I have rheumatic arthritis.
Oh.
It means, bro, I can't sit down any place for like 2 or 3 hours. Definitely, I can't get on a plane.
Can't get on a plane. Don't they have pills for that?
Yeah, you do have pills, mate, but it's I've got it bad.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Hey, listen, guys and gals out there, getting old ain't for pussies.
No, it's not.
It is not.
No, it's not.
It is not. So all you youngins out there, toughen up because it only gets worse, and you get more sore.
I know what pain is now. So
yeah, pain isn't just or a couple days. It's like all the time. So just prepare. All right. So the next thing I had listed on here. Well, so on let's see, April 4th, or no, April 6th, the Portuguese government declares martial law in Madeira and in the Azores because of the Funchal insurrection happening. So what that'll be? So that's another thing, guys. A lot of people might not know is that in the 30s, fucking South America was on fire. I mean, there were small wars and uprisings and coups and juntas happening all the fucking time for like I think from 30 most of the early 30s. Yeah, it was like boom, 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 boom. They were fighting for pieces of the fucking Amazon. They were fighting for coastal access. They were fighting for this and that. You know, Jesus didn't like Fernando, so they fucking fought. But what in wargaming sense is that this is a whole new like genre of gaming that no one touches. Is South American combat of the 30s?
Well, not quite, mate.
Oh, really? Who does it?
In 20 millimeter, the Grand Chaco War is, as in the last 10 years, it's become quite popular.
Really?
I've had 2 or 3 games in the Grand Chaco War. Yeah.
The Grand Chaco War?
Yeah, I think that's was it Bolivia and is it Bolivia and I can't remember, Honduras, is it?
I thought the Chaco War was Peru and no, maybe not. I do have that on my list, the Chaco War. Let me see if I have it.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that there's even. You know what? You're in the best outfit. 28 millimeters covered.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't know. So, talking hobby wise, who makes any South America? I don't even know what a fucking like Peruvian fucking soldier would look like, to be honest with you. I mean, what their uniforms look
I think it's Paraguay and Ecuador.
Okay.
You know what, mate? They both look a lot like the Chinese soldiers. Fuck all equipment and a service cap.
Yeah, I was about to say they didn't use a lot of countries hadn't quite normalized the metal beam protector. They were still using like field caps and shit like that.
Yeah. Especially
because it's fucking cheap. It's cheap. You gotta. It's enough that they have to buy clothes for these guys. They want a fucking helmet. Go fuck themselves. Go to war, boys. Here's a cap.
No, you don't need them. You can go barefoot.
Yeah, you just put there. Here's some tires. Chop up the tires and make some sandals out of them.
So yeah, there's. You know what? I'm thinking for you, what you may as well do is come up with a timeline, and then have a superhero or a freak for hire.
Well, so I'm kind of taking the Marvel. Okay, no, not Marvel. DC Comics. So the question: kill Hitler, right?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, he could just and he's done. The war never starts, whatever. So how they did this is that they said that the Axis had this superhero, right? That gave off kind of like a some sort of like field, and it extended out a certain distance, right? And any superhuman that came in that area was susceptible to that guy's like influence. So that's why they didn't just have Superman fly to Berlin, is because if he did, this superhero guy could like control Superman, right?
All right.
Yeah. So what that did is it put the brakes on any overpowered superhero in comics history. So like they can go into these areas for limited times, but slowly his influence would creep into their minds and they'd be taken over. They could go in for like a little quick raid or something. They'd have to get out quick. But Superman wasn't the Superman like he was in the 30s. That is, he is now. I mean, he's like a god now, but in the 30s he wasn't as godlike. But that's why. So what I was thinking is like I'm saying that superheroes or superhumans do exist in the timeline, but they're not like super powerful. They might have one like super ability, and one might be really super strong, or one can be really fast, but they don't have like this huge plethora of different powers. So because you got to put the brakes on that, because if you overpower that shit too much, then you can't play it out. It doesn't make any sense. So, but another cool thing I'm doing, doing this Indo-Chinese thing, is that I've been reading a bunch of the local folklore, like the mythological monsters and the ghosts and the demons and stuff. And I was going to insert some of those into these campaigns to give these local flavors across the world. These local monsters and entities on the battlefield, on the Weird War battlefield. So that'd be kind of cool. But China, but in my research that China, the Asian culture have similar mythological creatures and stories and gods. I mean, they kind of look the same, but they do different things or whatever. But it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, superhero. This is kind of what you're talking about. This timeline is. It's a rough timeline to where I can put the weird war and diverge it from history, or just add, why did that submarine sink? Well, guess what? The Atlanteans did it. There's a weird war. So like that's one thing. In 30, I'm working on 32 now, and there was a famous sinking of a British submarine in 32, and it was like the prize of the British Navy, and it just sank. And they didn't know why, and the only thing that they recovered from it was this. There was a wooden block that was floating in the water where the last scene, and it was said, "Sinking, send help," and Commander, Waters or whatever. It's like the second in command or something like that. But they never found out why it happened. And there was a French submarine, a famous French submarine that sank too. No one knew why. And pretty interesting. You can come up with all sorts of deep wind monsters or sea serpents or whatever the hell. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something? Oh, okay. I know. So, guys, Adam is a strict historical guy. He's like hardcore. So this is probably like scraping fucking fingernails against the wall, the chalkboard for him.
No, I like superheroes. I like ghosts and spirits and the supernatural.
That's cool.
I do have an interest in that.
Okay, so we did the Madeira Uprising. So that'll allow for some limited skirmish engagements between the various powers involved in that. It would be the Portuguese versus the Madeirians, I guess, from the Azores. So that'll be fun. That could be basically suppression of rebel units or whatever. It didn't last very long. I think it was only maybe a few weeks before it was crushed. But again, it's something to do. It gives you a chance to build different armies for different countries for later use. All right, so the next thing I got on my list here is 415? Let's see what happens.
415.
The assassination of Giuseppe Joe the Boss Mafia of New York City. He's a New York City mafia boss. So there you go, guys. You can do a mobster game. He was
in the barber's chair, wasn't he?
I think he was, yeah. So you guys can do a small gangster versus gangster game where he gets killed and your guys are trying to get out before his gangster buddies kill you or whatever. But it was a pretty big thing at the time. But then,
oh yeah, that's an easy one. They killed him because he was a do deal.
I put a note on here. And it says the Shadow. So what I was thinking, maybe the Shadow is hunting down his killers to bring them to justice, or maybe even continuing on to finish off the gang now that their leader's dead or something like that. So you can do a game with that assassination too. So there you go. All right, so let's keep going, guys. And hey, Adam, if you have anything, just interject, man. All right, so 515, we've got. So 515, what do we got here? The Ådalen riots. Okay, so let me see what that was. I don't remember what the fuck that was. Whatever. Soldiers open fire on. Okay, so this happens up in. I believe this was in Finland or the Netherlands. I think there was a strike with some workers, and the fucking federal troops came in. They fucking started shooting them all up. Yeah. So here we go. The Ådalen shootings. 5 people are killed in Ådalen, Sweden. Excuse me. When soldiers open fire on unarmed trade union demonstrators. So, dude. So now it's interesting because I came across a rule set recently that it was I think it was called civil unrest or something like that, and it was actually a wargaming set of rules for civilian uprising, not so much peaceful, but more like mob, uprisings and stuff, not military uprisings. So you could do a game like that. You could have some sort of trade union teamsters, demonstrating, and the authorities come in, and there's a big kerfluffle, and there you go. You got a game. You got a small skirmish game there for you. All right, then. Okay, so we jump into June here. So we got in June in general. Okay, there's a big. This is in China. Okay, there's heavy rains in China that flood the Yangtze and the Huai rivers, killing 400,000 plus people by the end of November. I guess the estimated amount is 422,000 dead. Of that, 150,000 drowned. So that's, I mean, just imagine not just the loss of life there, but then like the disease, from all those dead bodies, and that's just people. Just imagine all the animals and all the other shit involved in that. So in noting that, and of course, we're going to use tragedies to manipulate into weird war so you can have games for it. It could be some sort of mythos manipulation, be it like some sort of super or cult, doing some sort of ritual, and the ritual was successful and they were able to cause this kind of flooding or this kind of death toll at least. And, your party of investigators or government, G-men or whatever it might be, are trying to infiltrate this cult, find it before they can do their ritual, whatever it can be. But it's just this instance in time is usable for some sort of like over the top mystical means, if not just a natural tragedy, All right, so then we got on. So this was interesting. So the Koreans riot in Pyongyang against the Chinese. Okay, I guess the Chinese were in Korea right there. 127 Chinese are killed.
Border areas, yeah.
Yeah, 127 Chinese are killed. Tons of structures were destroyed too. So let me find. Yeah, so anti-Chinese riots occur in Pyongyang. Approximately 127 Chinese people are killed, 393 wounded, and a considerable number of properties are destroyed by Korean residents.
Yeah.
I want to say that I did a little bit more research on that, and they destroyed like over 300 structures. Or like it was a lot of buildings were like burnt down. So and that in itself right there could be a catalyst to storylines and like we were talking about, skullduggery between government officials and the parties at play. Maybe it was I'm sure the Japanese were involved. I'm sure they pushed the the Koreans and or hinted on doing that themselves. Go ahead, fight the Chinese, fuck them. Because I believe Korea ends up being a protectorate of Japan during World War II, right? Or an ally, right?
Yeah, I think they've been ruling it since 1904.
Okay. Yeah, because I know
and they say it's a Japanese colony, same as Taiwan.
Yeah, because I want to say the Koreans still had a royal family during that time, right? During World War II? It was like a king or whatever the hell it was.
I have no idea. I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah, because I think the Koreans still had some sort of royal family. I can't remember.
Taiwanese were both conscripted into the Japanese army.
Yeah.
So Korean men were subject to conscription into the army, just like Taiwanese men, and Taiwanese women, just like Korean women, could also be conscripted into the army brothels, what they call comfort women.
Oh, that sucks.
But I'll take it,
Yeah.
They want you to fuck with Japan, but they'll turn your sister and your mother into a whore.
I swear, man, it's just like, I don't know. It's nuts. It's fucking crazy. I mean, it's
you have to be prepared to accept the insanity of Japan and China.
Well, it's just not Western. It's just that culture is just so foreign from the Western culture, and that's all I can say. I mean, I don't mean to be ethnocentristic or whatever, but it's true. I seriously believe that the cultures are so diverse and just how it all works, that it's just, I guess, shit like this is acceptable, or maybe it's just it has to happen because if not, something worse happens. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
It's just a Japanese insanity. Do you know, actually, I won't get into it. George.
Well, Lansnick says Dick Tracy could be invested. That's a great one. I didn't even think about Dick Tracy. You know, the mobster hit. You could play Dick Tracy game. You have Dick Tracy and his crew, you know, hunting down, you know, the assassins, or you know, trying to stop a gang war, gang war happening in the town. That'd be cool. That's a great idea. Bo, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, man. All right, so what do we got next here? Let me get my notes here. So yeah, so heavy rains, and I'm sure that those rains too. I want to say I was watching one of your battle reports. Guys, go check out Adam's Wargaming China. All his battle reports. Really historically accurate, and he scratch builds a lot of his shit. It's amazing. It's awesome. But he's stuck in the 20 millimeter phase. He can't quite get out of it. That's okay though. We still love him all the same. But I want to say in one of your games you were talking about how the Yangtze flooded, and it was causing all these issues in the actual the combat that you're playing out. I can't remember what campaign.
Was. Look, the Yangtze, just like the Yellow River, is a complete bastard of a river. If it rains a lot, you can get a lot of bigger ships up there.
Yeah.
During the rainy season, you can get cruises up all the way to Nanjing up the Yangtze. But those rains bring obstacles, boulders. The Yangtze River is such a powerful river. It has to be charted at a weekly.
Weekly? Holy shit.
Yeah. Hazards are coming up constantly. Sandbars move. Yeah, it's just a complete bastard river. But when I was playing the game, I think that was I've used Tolly a couple of times. Yeah, the Chinese started to use Chang had worked for him in the Yellow River up in the North and Central Plains. So he thought, well, I'll use it every time Japanese take something along the Yangtze. So they started to use a little bit because in the Yangtze it's all cliffs and the flooding could be boxed off, you know. But yeah, he it up because he did it one too many times, and then that allowed the Japanese Navy to get behind a big fortress and take it from the land.
Gotcha. Yep.
So yeah, they were always doing flooding. But the Yankees in the bastard, just because you can get a ship up it, doesn't mean you're going to be able to get the ship straight back down. The waters will change, the water level will change constantly. There's a lot. Just look up gunboats grounded on the Yangtze River.
Well, I want to say in the Korean War, what's the big invasion when the Americans invaded? What city? Incheon. Remember, they had to get these landing crafts in the exact time, because if not, that damn thing just the tide goes out and it's just a giant mud, ocean. And so yeah, it was all like super tight. They got to get it all done quick because the boats would just get stuck. And that water rushes out. I just, and I know in I'm familiar with, like, in World War II, the Nazis they flooded a bunch of, they would destroy a lot of the dams to flood areas to where, gliders and, paratroopers couldn't land because it was flooded. So they have those, they make those channels where, ambushes and, kill zones. So, hell, it's not dumb to, manipulate nature, and for your own needs. And it's pretty cool.
Well, so the Chinese with their rivers, they've been using for so long. I mean, when the water drops and say the stones are revealed, you'll find that those stones have paths on them where the ship should go.
Gotcha.
Directions for the ship's captains and the fishermen as to where the channels are. And if it goes deep, there's still more rocks out there inscribed on them, which way the river's been used for that long, and the amount of knowledge in it, it's just it tests every day. You have to refresh your knowledge on it every day.
I want to.
in your area.
I want to say that I watched just a news report, like maybe like last year. There was some like I think there was a drought in China somewhere, and it dried out this massive like lake, and then they found like some old like that had been underwater for like 100 years or something like that. It's pretty interesting.
I mean, got it.
But okay, so then we got next on my list here. We got some. Let me do some remarks here. We got some remarks here. We got Lansec said a proto Godzilla could be eating British subs. Yeah, you know, like some sort of. Now there's an instance. God, it's in the 30s. I want to say it's the late 30s, before the war, where a British sub claims to have seen a sea monster off the coast of Ireland, or it might have been Scotland. I can't remember. And they said that it like tried to sink the sub, but anyway, we'll get there when we get there. All right, so 9, or what my list here we got on June 14th, the Saint-Philibert disaster. The overloaded pleasure craft, the Saint-Philibert, carrying trippers from natties from some French place, sinks at the mouth of the River Loire in France. Over 450 drowned. Okay, so in my weird World War II head, what I'm thinking is a skirmish game between the Saint-Philibert's crew versus like deep ones, or like some sort of like sea creatures coming to attack the ship. They're trying to save the passengers, and in this case, they weren't able to do it, and the thing got sunk, or the people got dragged off and eaten, or whatever the hell it is. So there's there you go, guys. You can go crazy on the French pleasure cruise being attacked or devoured or whatever you want it to be. All right, so next we've got. All right, so the Lublin tornado. There's a tornado that happens in Lublin, kills a bunch of people. I said it was Mythlos. So, which was, I didn't write much about that one. I'm not exactly sure when that happened. Let me see. I got a big jump. Let's see. A lot of this stuff, and it's interesting, guys. So if you go to this YouTube page, I mean, there's tons of stuff, on here that I'm just not talking about. It's like, Royal soldiers shoot and kill 22 people demonstrating against the Maharaja and the Indian Principality state of Kashmir. So that's a big fucking thing, because even in the early 30s, you got Gandhi making his trek. He's doing his trying to revolution. He's not revolution, but getting away from the British rule. The idea of Pakistan, its own thing, its own Muslim nation comes into play in the early 30s. So you start to have that issue, that talk happen. So it's pretty interesting, and that can all lead to wargaming. Wargaming doesn't necessarily have to be army versus army. It could be idea versus idea. So give you an excuse to buy a bunch of Indian and Paki civilians. They can fight it out in some sort of skirmish for whatever reason. All right, what do we got here? So next, this is a crazy one. So in Berlin, this is let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. We got September. Let me get to it. September 2nd, or was that 2nd? Two. What is this? I can't remember. 2 Berlin cops are killed by commies. Okay, so this is another instance that happens that starts to bring the anti-Bolsheviks. I can't speak today. And communist, resentment in Germany. It's stuff like this is happening, and it wasn't necessarily them, but this one it was that they found the guy. But I don't know. You don't know. Anyway, so what this is, the reason I made a note of this is that, again, I'm trying to make the communist threat, more prevalent and there's going to be more instances like in my Weird War. I'm going to have more communist kind of like uprisings in areas that didn't happen historically. So the communist ideal becomes more threatening. So you have nations on the planet fighting more diligently to either stamp out communism or to fight against the Soviet Union when the conflict turns hot. Okay, so we need, I mean, and then you have the communists, fighting for the spread of communism, and then you got the rest of the world fighting against communism spread. So you can have all sorts of cool uprisings, and there's an uprising in Detroit because the Communist Party promised equality for everybody and free whatever, and then hey, that's a great idea. Let's overthrow the government. That's kind of shit. So you can really go crazy with and that's another thing in this time period is there's new ideas floating around, and they're gaining strength, and the world has turned to shit because the Great Depression is still happening. The economies are tanking in the world. You got conflicts. You got people are having a hard time. So there's a big flux in what's happening in the world at this time. So it's rife for all sorts of like divergent ideas from the actual historical timeline. All right, so what do we got next? We got so 910. We've got the worst hurricane in British Honduras history hits an estimated.
All right, Brian.
You out of here, buddy?
All
right, man. Hey, man, thanks for sitting in with me, dude.
Bye, everyone.
So, everybody, be sure to check out Adam's channel, Wargaming China.
On your mic.
All right, brother.
Bye.
Take it easy. All right, guys, I'm just getting him off here. Okay, so all right, you got everybody there? Okay, so thanks for Adam for coming by. I was supposed to hang out with Adam tonight, and I didn't know when he was going to show up. I thought he wasn't able to, so I started my live show, and he came in the middle. So it's all good. That's what Weird War II is about. We're all about community and family, baby. All right, so what we got going on here? Anybody going on? Walk the dog. What happened there? You walked it? You're like, that's funny. Like you walk it, like you cook it. That's pretty good, Bo. Pretty good. All right, so the next thing we'll go, let's see, how long have we been going on here? It's been an hour. So you guys getting tired? Let's keep going. We don't have a whole lot left. No, we're almost done, actually, guys. We'll push through. Let's push through. Okay, guys. So the next, so British Honduras, right? So again, lots of. I guess this is not a lot, but some pretty big disasters, natural disasters happening in 31. So again, anything like that on a massive casualty rate. I mean, 1,500 people died. And that's just what the estimate is. There could be a hell of a lot more. That could be mythos. Cult activity, maybe weather weapons, even local deities or monsters, manipulating the weather. And you can play game. You can even role play. Like you can have if you play maybe a horror game, like Call of Cthulhu or something like that. You could have a group of investigators trying to, hunt down this superhero that they know that is going to cause some catastrophe in British where was it was in British Honduras. So it gives you a chance to play different areas, different peoples, different cultures, different armies, different category of people, like gangsters or soldiers or civilians, political, groups, all sorts of shit. You can have a blast. You guys don't need to play tournament games. Tournament games suck. Don't play. I mean, I guess if you only have 2 hours and you just want to throw some dice, that's cool, right? You just want to play with your toys, that's fine. But man, I mean, the world. I mean, just historically, there's so many instances that you don't have to go off that date, but you can come up with an idea from whatever happened. So I really push you guys to fucking play story based. it's more meaningful. And I guarantee you'll remember it more than these like army list, fucking tournament games. All right, guys. So the next thing we got going on here, we're chugging along here. 9/18, the Japanese military stages the Mukden incident, an explosion blamed on Chinese dissidents and used as a pretext for the Japanese invasion of Manchuria. See, I wish Adam would have stayed around. He could have talked about this. So, again, I don't know why, but the Japanese, they always try to do some sort of like something happens to make them do what they're going to do, right? I guess that happens. The catalyst, it's a false catalyst, but for the rest of the world to see, like the rest of the world doesn't know what the fuck's really happening. You just want Manchuria, and you're going to come up with an excuse to do it instead of you just doing it. So anyway, that's what this is. So again, that can be some sort of skirmish game where of the plot, you're trying to stop it, or you are the plot and you're trying to plant the explosives, and the Chinese authorities or the guards or whatever it might be are against you, so you can do something with that. All right. Okay, so what we got here? 9/20. Okay, so with a gun, so September 20th, with a gun literally pointed to his head, the Chinese commander of Kirin province announces the annexation of that territory to Japan. It's just another example of how slowly Japan is just gobbling up more, taking more bits and pieces. That's one thing about China at the time right now, guys, is that a lot of colonial, like a lot of Western powers are in its area. Japanese are taking it over. All sorts of. It's just China is divided, and there's just not a whole lot stopping these larger belligerents to just walk in and take whatever the fuck they want. Okay. All right, and again, that can lead to all sorts of wargaming, role playing. You can even chit and counter political games or whatever. Guys, history is such a great, resource to use for your gaming. I mean, you could set that instance for almost any time frame in any genre of wargaming or gaming in general. So, all right, let's keep going. I'm babbling. Okay, so we jump to November the 7th. All right, let's see what we got. The Chinese Soviet Republic is proclaimed by Mao Zedong. Okay, well, you guys know who Mao is. This is his start right here, 31 in the early 30s. This is when he slowly gains his power. He starts to, like Adam said, he eventually is the biggest guy, the biggest commie in the room, and he's the one who basically takes it over. So these are all the beginnings of what we see today, but because this is Weird War, it could change by assassination. You got someone that's trying to assassinate him, and his people are trying to stop him, or whatever it might be. So, pretty interesting. All right, and that's just like just so you know what's happening. All right, then we go to 11/8. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is during the French police launch a large-scale raid against Corsican bandits. Shit, that's fantastic. You got French police hunting down modern-day pirates. You go crazy on that. And it doesn't have to be pirates. It can be fucking they hunting down, criminals, or they're hunting down, revolutionaries, or whatever it might be. But at that time, you got the French police hunting down some folks in Corsica. All right, what else we got here? Okay, so the same day, the Panama Canal closes due to earthquakes. Again, that could be some sort of mythos, some sort of cult, or even super activity, or monsters, or whatever the fuck. That'd be interesting. Like maybe there's some sort of like sea beast or some sort of local legend that doesn't like this giant fucking canal and its hunting ground, and it comes there and starts wreaking havoc, and you got to stop it. There you go. All right, guys. Then we've got the last thing I have on my list for 1931 is December 5th. The Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow is dynamited by Joseph Stalin. There you go, guys. That's another example of how the communists, like the hate for the communists, is growing. Okay, so you've got the Catholics, or the Christians in general, not really digging that shit. They don't like them enough, because they're commies, because they're atheists. Now they're blowing up fucking churches. Stalin. So I wrote here. I said, so this is what I wrote for my weird warring net instance. I said, secret papal decree to secretly work against the communists across the world. So there you go. Now you've got the Vatican officially is mobilizing to fight against the communist taint that's going across the world. So there you go, guys. I got some notes here as well. I guess there was also in September 15th this was interesting. I didn't know about this. So in September 15th, the Invergordon mutiny happened. So the Invergordon was a British naval ship, Royal Navy ship, right? That mutinied, right? And it was mutinied for like that before it came back into, they retook it, whatever. But I guess the real reason why they mutinied was like shitty pay, bad conditions on the boat, and what they just wanted, they wanted to mutiny and like sail some whatever the fuck. But that's what really happened. But in my world, I was saying it's a communist plot. So what it does is it freaks out the Admiralty, and they're worried about communists in their ranks, and because hell, they already took over they mutinied a ship. We gotta take all these commies out of the equation. So, and if you're on the communist side, you're like, hey, if we take this ship, the mission is, the mutinied ship has to reach somewhere in the Soviet Union or some communist safe space, and then like the opposite army would be like hunting them down. It could be a naval game, I guess. You can do a naval game. That'd be pretty cool. But you got Lanceneck scenario where the Chinese are defending the beer brewery. Hell yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Or then you can flip it. You can have like Chinese commandos trying to take out like Japan's largest, like most famous sake factory or something like that. And then look, you guys don't have to be heavy. You can be fun. You can be lighthearted. We got the Emu Wars coming up too. I think the Australians, they're not forcing their people to vote. They're hunting down. They're having a war with the emus. All right, guys. Well, that I think is. And then I put a note here. So there's a video game I really like called Nocturne. It was look it up on YouTube. There's a lot of playthroughs, and it's like a weird war. Well, not weird war. It's like a pulp horror, and it's like there's this agency called the what was it called? The Boneworks or something like that, and they're like a American like government agency that like hunt down supernatural threats. We've seen that before, but it's a pretty cool game, and I had it when it first came out, and I played the hell out of it. And I was thinking, I'm not trying to work in some of those characters and some of those missions into my Weird War gaming. So that'll allow me to use these characters in like some like skirmish games, some small campaigns, and they all have like they're all like one's kind of like one's called the Stranger. He's a monster hunter, and then there's like a half vampire, half human person, and there's all sorts of different kind of characters, like a boxer, and then there's like a voodoo guy that can summon like a voodoo witch doctor. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool game. Check it out. Again, it's called Nocturne. It's a cool game. But I made a note, so I'm gonna try to work in some of that stuff in their timeline into this timeline to get some cool gaming in. All right, guys. Well, that is what I got for my 1931. Okay. Again, go to the link. It's just go to Wikipedia, plug in a time, like a year, and then it'll pop up and just go to the events and like, whenever you're born, 1952. Then you see what happened in 1952. And make up some cool game from it, or or even there might be some sort of instance in history that just makes that fucking bean, that little spark in your bean, and you're like, hey man, that'd be cool. That'd be a cool, fantasy game. We're hunting. There's a cruise ship. It's being attacked by fucking, I don't know, dire sharks. You gotta protect it. Whatever the fuck, you can just manipulate these actual historical events into whatever you want to. History is awesome, guys, because it's the human experience, and truth is really stranger than fiction. There's a lot of crazy shit that's happened throughout history, and we just don't know about it. All you got to do is just do a little reading, and then it's a whole new world of inspiration and ideas for your gaming that you may not have thought of. And areas of the world that you never thought about playing in, or armies that you never thought about collecting. So, all right, guys. Well, my throat is hurting, and it's late. It's about an hour and a half. I want to thank everybody that came, especially Adam. You guys go check out his Wargaming China. So, in fact, I will put a link. Let me see if I can get a link to it. I'll put it in the comments here, so you guys can just go right to it. Adam's a cool motherfucker. He's down in Australia. He's actually South African by birth, but he's an Australian now. He's got a cool insight on life. He's been all over the world. He's a pretty cool dude. And he knows his shit about fucking Chinese conflict in that time period. That is faux show. Let me get that link for him. Adam, again, thanks for coming by, dude. Sorry about the fucking confusion. I'm glad to have you. You're more than welcome. All you guys are welcome to hang out with me at any time. Let's see. Let me get that link here. There it is. Wargaming China. Damn, he's gonna pass me in no time. All right, it's in the link. All right, the link is in the description. Give him a look. Give him a subscribe. He's a cool motherfucker. Watch his stuff. He does some cool stuff for the time period. Lance Nick, it was awesome to have you hang out with me. You had some cool ideas. Always fun hearing what you have to say. You're all over the place too. I dig it. I would find you all over the place. Are you following me? And we had nerds come by. Girl, it's always a pleasure to see you. We need to hang out more. Bo, thanks for coming by. Fucking stranger. Haven't seen you in forever, dude. I hope all is well. And anybody else who came by, I appreciate it. Ashley from Gamers with Coffee. Go swing over to Gamers with Coffee. They have all sorts of cool games going on there. Greg and Ashley, cool couple. They're a wargaming couple. They're awesome. You guys go swing over there. Gamers with Coffee. All right, guys. Again, thanks for coming by. Whatever you do in this crazy mixed up world, keep it weird. See you.